Hello, you're watching and listening to an episode of Leaders and Engineers. My name is Lavran Yusupov and we're broadcasting from Tallinn, Estonia. Today our guest is an expert in telecommunications engineering, 5G, radio frequency testing, and communications for Internet of Things. He is a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Telecommunications and Network Engineering, Bachelor of Business Administration, and PhD in Telecommunications with more than 12 years of experience in telecommunications, 5G, IoT, and management. For 2 years, he was one of the leaders in ISEC in Algiers. He is now living in Estonia and is leading a team of product test development, project managers and product owners in radio access network compute segment and street macros of 5G portfolio at Ericsson. Please meet Dr. Collins Burton Mwakwata.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you said very well my name. I normally like people make mistake pronouncing Mwakwata, but you pronounce it very well.
Well, here's a very important occasion. I made sure to practice. But how's been you doing? What are the latest news?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Now, just focusing on the weather. The weather is changing, so I'm also transitioning from inside as well to adapt to different weather. So so it's amazing. I would say it's different and it's amazing, and I like those kind of changes because they remove this kind of what you call routine. If the weather is monotone, again it starts boring. But when it changes, every different weather comes with a different aspect of life. So I enjoy it. Yeah.
You like the change, the seasons, basically.
Yeah, it's very good. When you experience different seasons, that's a different kind of experience. For example, where I'm coming from in Tanzania, we don't have, for example, winter season. So it doesn't snow like how it snows right here. And even the spring, we don't experience it that as how we're experiencing it right here. So we have more of rain seasons and dry seasons. So it's kind of different weather because we're towards the tropical. But here again on the north, it's different. So I'm enjoying it, I would say, different weathers.
Well, in this case, if you like really distinct seasons, then you're welcome to visit Uzbekistan, Central Asia.
Yeah.
Because there is a sharply continental climate, and it's very clearly spring, clear autumn, and winter is -10. And the summer is +50.
Oh, that's
so you experience all the range of seasons.
All right, that's good. Thank you for your invitation. One day maybe I'll consider visiting there. I've never been there yet.
And from Europe, it's quite easy, I think, to travel there.
Yeah. All right, very good. I'll consider it one day on time. Yes, I'll consult you before I go. I'll be like, okay, now it's my time to visit Uzbekistan. So please do some recommendation. What's the best time to go there and whatsoever? And maybe try to go, if I have to experience all the weather, so it means I have to go there 4 times a year. I have to go so that I experience winter, so that I experience the spring, so that I experience summer and fall. So,
well, I suggest you first go maybe for 2 weeks. If you like it, then
you try to go with different seasons. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for invitation.
All right. So, on this positive good note, I would like to suggest you to try something new or something different. If you listen to our podcast, you probably have seen that we're trying to mock the job interview.
Yeah.
So right now we also will try to mock job interview.
Okay. Yeah.
So you are applying for leadership position.
Yeah.
The company which doesn't exist. It's a legendary company.
Wow.
And the product also doesn't exist.
All right.
So here we use our imagination, but the questions are related to how it usually would be through the job interviews.
All right.
And then I will say that the job interview is over, and I'll ask your feedback. Is it similar to how you hire people? Is it similar how you were hired?
Yeah.
And your overall impressions.
Yeah. So technically, my experience.
Yeah.
And comparing to how my previous experience compared to the current experience that I'm going to have with you, right?
Yes.
All right. Then I will try to compare that one.
Exactly. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hello, Collins.
Hi.
thank you for applying for leadership position in our telecom company. Our company is developing 10G.
All right.
So it's a telecom solution for delivery of food over high-frequency radio waves directly to mouth. To mouth. So you don't need to use your hands.
Yeah.
Using the radio waves, food will fly to your mouth.
Okay.
That's why we call it 10G. It's like
So you
5 generations ahead.
all right. That's very good.
There is a 5G, but we're developing 10G.
Okay. Great.
So in this position, you'll be leading a team of highly qualified researchers.
Yeah.
And you will see the picture on your screen. I will show to Collins how it looks like. So basically, the person will open the
You
mouth.
open the mouth and the food comes directly to your mouth without even touching it.
Yeah, and it flies over the high frequency radio waves.
Yeah.
So this is exactly connected to the ground.
Very good.
And this basically image was generated by Stable Diffusion AI.
Yeah.
I gave the prompt, just what I have described here.
Yeah.
And this is the image which was generated.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Nice one.
So my first question, why have you decided to apply for this position?
Yeah. As you have seen, like you have already very great technology advancement. And for me, I think it's also something that I want to learn and also develop and contribute. But I'll contribute based on my previous experience. And also I'm open to learn the new challenges that we're going to face, especially using radio waves to transmit, for example, food from, I don't know if it's from the kitchen to the mouth. Mm-hmm. So first part would be like contributing based on my experience throughout the years, through education, through all the experience that I've had in the past. And also the other part would be more towards learning also what 10G will bring in life, and at least we can solve our customer demands and the requirements accordingly. Yeah.
But from your knowledge and your experience, from the first look, do you see it's possible to achieve?
Of course. When it comes to the aspect of knowledge advancement, everything is possible. You have a possibility to play whatever you want to play. You need only the right ideas, you put them correctly, and after that, then you can bring whatever you want to bring. You know, if you consider in the past, some years, I don't know when exactly, but when there were no planes, I would say like it was even very hard to imagine that people would be able to fly on space and also moving from one country to another, or even like a couple of years back, it wasn't even imaginary, like, okay, I can travel to Mars or whatsoever. However, right now, those things exist. The aspect of smartphone, go back only 20 years ago, if not even 25, 30. If you bring someone who died already 30 years ago and you show them like, okay, now you know what, when I talk to someone in Uzbekistan or in Tanzania or in Estonia, we can see each other. They won't even try to imagine. So the thing is that we are moving towards there. We are bringing different pieces, and we have to only connect the pieces accordingly so that things work according to what we want to achieve. Mainly, for example, supporting the human needs and also considering the sustainability in large scale. Not like, okay, I just bring some advancement that will just ruin the humankind. So we have to keep all these kind of different parameters into play so that if we are to bring, for example, a new technology, it serves the purpose. It helps the need, and the need is humankind first, and other things come later.
You touched a very important topic about priorities when we introduce new technologies. Yeah. Like you said, everything's possible if you put enough resources and effort. But then the question, if it's really sustainable and it's for the benefit of humankind. Here's my question. You as an expert with when it comes to radio frequencies.
Yeah.
There is kind of lots of debate, and I would like to ask your opinion. Yeah. What do you think about the potential long-term impact of the radio frequency type of the EMS?
Yeah, okay. Actually, for me, as I understand how radio frequency works, I don't see that if we have already the controlled bodies, that's why we have standardization. Why we have standardization bodies? For example, 3GPP, the ITUs and the likes. Their main aspect is they are already in parallel doing the risk analysis, so that until something something comes and standardized, it means that you have already minimized the impact of risks. I would highlight you a very simple example. The cars, when they were invented, do you know how much, what was the maximum speed limit? And it was considered if you go beyond that, probably it's a criminal offense. Why? Because the technology by then wasn't supporting the adaptation of moving vehicles. So the danger was so much, even if it moves only to 6 kilometers per hour, they're like, oh, this is so much, because when it comes, it can kill someone. With advancement of technology, with different rules, regulations that were put into play, nowadays we're talking about bullet trains that move at a very high speed. If you consider the cars right now, for example, the speed limit, if you're in the town, whatever it is, being 50 or whatsoever, it's already very high as compared to what it was at the beginning. Why? Because people didn't know how to act with the new technology. And it's the same concept when it comes to radio frequencies. They are there. We have organizations, we have standardization bodies, we have experts who also in parallel analyze what is needed and what is not, and for which kind of use. And if, for example, it's dangerous, do you think the standardization bodies will just allow it to go? Because it's not one person. I bring my input, it's collective decision. And after that, also on the fly, there's still some enhancement, rectification, like, okay, maybe we just adjust. So you have to be agile, you have to adapt. If you get fast feedback, you see like, okay, maybe here we can improve, maybe here and whatsoever. So I would compare, if you, for example, you're talking here about 10G, that probably you're going to use very high frequency. I don't know how high they will be. However, the very first thing I would tell you is that when the frequency is so high, the path loss is very high. And when the path loss is very high, it cannot even go so far. And that's why they even, the penetration loss, for example, decreases. And if the penetration loss increases. So that, if we're talking about 10G, and you're using, I don't know how much millions of hertz of frequencies, you have also to consider that, okay, from where to where do I have even to move the food? You see, probably it won't be the one, it's not only the movement of the frequency, but also carrying something on top of the frequency. And we're not talking about carrying the beats or the analog signal or whatsoever. Here we are talking, you are moving food with very high frequencies. So you have to carry a certain payload to transfer to the mouth of someone. However, the possibility is still there. Why is it still there? It's just because before research has confirmed that it's impossible, there are always some possibilities. And that's why even when I was doing, for example, my studies, what I learned throughout the learning process is that until proved otherwise, you cannot say that, oh, it's impossible. Why is it so?
Let's, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, please go.
Just comes to mind, there are different industries and different standards and different regulations.
Yes.
If we compare with the pharmaceutical industry,
yes,
the tightest possible kind of standards, or the space industry, but let's speak about the pharmaceuticals. You know very well that there is this probability, basically the speed level for the mistake is lower, it's to the 95% compared to other things, or even to 99% actually.
Yes.
So, but it's explained by the fact that all this can have impact on the human health, and it needs to be studied for long-term effects. Isn't it the same case with other technologies? I mean, if you use something and you don't die immediately, you're not getting injured for the next 5 years, is it safe? Or you have to keep watching before you can really release it to to millions?
Yeah, that's why I even said at the beginning, the very first point is that, does it serve humankind? Is it having these negative effects to the humankind? I don't say that we should be on a reactive approach that, okay, for example, the standardization bodies like ITU, 3GPP should just let things until something happened. Then we say like, oh, maybe here we have to adjust or whatsoever. What we see today being implemented, or even by that time that we're implementing this 10G of our business, it's not the time that we're already proposing the product. The research has already been done throughout the years. And the risks factors have also been considered. I don't say that the pharmaceutical industry is the same, for example, as when ours, it's consumer like for food. However, the very first part is, does it serve humankind? Is it for better of humankind? Is it for advancement? If any risk is scientifically proven and highlighted, it has to be brought on the table, and research has to again reproduce that. And if it's proved otherwise, then you have to demolish. I will give an example based on let me refer a good example so that we are also on the same caliber. For the telescope, I don't know. This discussion could be different for people coming from different background, different scientific research groups and whatsoever, but even religious aspect also, because it used to be believed in some different groups that the world was flat, and it was proved like that, and people were like, okay, the world is flat, until someone could just see like, oh, actually it's not like that, it could be round and stuff. And after that, it was reproduced. Then the scientific aspects proved like, yes, it is so. Then we moved towards that. Probably in the future, it could also be discovered that it's not as round as we see. Maybe the technology only now is showing us as we are seeing. But maybe when we look to a different lens, it could just be seen differently. So as how we believe in doctors, when we are sick and they say like, okay, this one can treat you and you use, I think also all experts are equally important. That if they have expert opinion, we have to, if you don't have scientific argument to go otherwise, we have to agree. Why? Because if we stop everything, there is no development, there is no advancement. So if, for example, something is seen that it has big risk, perfect. Very good that you have seen it, because I've seen it from the angle that I didn't see it. So if you have seen it that way, let's bring it to the table. Let's try to reproduce that risk. And if we prove otherwise, let's put it to the larger audience so that we stop whatever we see. However, many theories people could have. Even today, I can just say like, you know what, using your tablet right now here maybe is dangerous. Why? Because it's when you're connected here, it means something is just going out to your data or something. Okay, you don't know where it's going towards. It's not maybe it's going through this side or the other side or whatsoever. When you're calling, but people, because it suits their need, they don't have any objective argument. But when it doesn't fit their need, or it doesn't fit their industry, so it doesn't fit their thing, they can just give expert opinion. I can go now and say like, oh, you know what? We heard, for example, even when there are different pandemics, people had different arguments. You should, for example, vaccinate. And other people came, you shouldn't vaccinate. Who is saying what? Who do we have to believe? Then there you give free will to people to decide, is it based on theory of people? They slept, they work out, and they say like you should or you shouldn't? Or is it based on scientific arguments, scientific activities that we had to react very fast to treat the pandemic, and we have to follow this one because we believe the expert opinion that it's based on something. So it's on the same context that we should be data-driven, objective decision.
But here comes like two things actually. First thing is, what if part of scientists say this is harmful, another part of scientists say it's not harmful? Then what do you do with this technology? You still put this on the massive scale with this kind of conclusion? This is the first thing. And the second thing is, some people find this like so useful, so they should have this choice to, like you said about this vaccination, for instance. Some technologies are like spread out on a massive scale, and vaccination is also spread out, but still it's like individual. You just take a shot, so each person can make individual choice. I want to get this shot, I don't get this shot.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's like there is choice.
Yeah.
Like in another case, if everyone is like smoking, do you have choice not to breathe in,
To inhale. Yeah.
this smoke? So how do you from this perspective? But first of all, with this first question, that if the conclusion is that science is indecisive about technology,
Science is not indecisive about technology.
it's not clear. So science is indecisive. They say that half of the scientists did research and they claim that something is wrong with that.
Yeah.
And others say it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Then you have this 50-50 kind of result.
Yeah.
How should you proceed with technology in this case?
That's the best part. I think I like that example. You already said 50-50. So you have again the willingness to choose. Which one do you want to believe? So I decide to go with this one that believes that it's harmful, or I decide to go with this one that decides to go. But again, individual, based on your level of education, based on your capacity to analyze different data, you should make sure that you are out of confirmation bias. Because confirmation bias is like, even in Estonia, they have one thing they say, Irm on suured silmad, something like that, like Irm on suured silmad, like fear has big eyes. I relate it to, for example, confirmation bias. If I've already decided or I've already seen like, oh, this side is dangerous, make sure to be on a neutral ground to see that it's dangerous and this side is not. Rather than if you are already siding subjectively that this side is dangerous and you are reading things, you can just go towards that direction. And it's the same. I will give you the same question. If you say like, is this 10G company that you have, is 10G company worse compared to existing whatever technologies that are offering that food transferring? If you search even in Google, the results that will be displayed is based on your 10G and worse. So they will just bring things that express that it's worse. If you write that is this one better than, most of the search that you'll get, there will be more towards better than. That's why if you have a chance, 50-50, you should be able to quantitatively and qualitatively analyze why is it so from this side and why is it so from the other side. Of course, giving a chance that there is a certain part of the unknown on the side that it is not and on the side that it is. And that comes on the self-awareness. Am I expert in this matter? Then I can analyze myself. Am I not expert in this matter? Then I cannot analyze myself. Then who do I decide to believe on the analysis part? So that you at least reduce the confirmation bias when deciding that something is either or, whichever way. Another aspect is that, like I think you've already also heard, I was resonating much towards this aspect, that all as human beings, we have not only human beings, I would say that it's human beings, it could be also scientific research groups, different communities in science, scientific research. There is something that you know, and people know that you know. There is something that you don't know, and people know that you know. There is something that you don't know, and people don't know that you don't know. And there is something that you know, and people know. So the people know, you know. People know, you don't know. People don't know, or whatever. But you got those kind of paradigms. Why is it important? It's just because even if I'm doing my research, I'm already somewhat biased because I want already to confirm a certain theory. If you think that way, you should also be able to think that when I'm already looking for my theory on the formulation of my hypothesis, the other side that I don't know still exist. That's why you have to diversify your search, diversify your knowledge, be active listener. I don't say like listen to what people say, but rather be willing to learn other aspects that you don't know. Maybe if you consider different parameters, you reduce the risk that the thing that you didn't know could have maybe a negative impact to the society. Yeah.
What's your take on this? Let's say you want to make some certain conclusion with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And you coming, let's say, from telecommunications background.
Yeah.
And let's say there comes out research in biology.
Yeah.
Which says that if you basically don't take a sleep in the afternoon,
Yeah.
it has negative impact on your health and negative impact on your brain.
Yeah.
How will you look at this? One thing you can say, these are trusted scientists.
Yeah.
I straight away trust. But you did your, you've been into academia,
Yeah.
and you read lots of books. And do you think you are well prepared also to open and read this research in biology?
Yeah.
And understand it and make your own conclusion?
Yeah, for me, that's the other thing that I discovered about myself when it comes to learning. I don't say I have trust issues, but I'm open to learning, I mean. And what I mean is that if someone comes today and says, this is it, I won't say, all right, like, okay, I will just believe you. I'll be like, okay, based on what facts? Based on which scientific arguments? What are the coherence and cohesiveness between arguments, so that if something is true, when you are deducting it up to the conclusion, it should be true. We shouldn't have a kind of conflict of ideas in the middle here that will already conflict my conclusion. So I'm already a lifelong learner, and I like to learn. I will take their point of view. You're a scientific researcher from biology. You say that you should sleep, or if you don't sleep, your brain could just be damaged. I would need numbers. I would need qualitative and quantitative analysis, right? So that I make sure that whatever you're bringing has also considered different parameters. Because if you wanted only to prove that if I don't sleep in the afternoon, my brain will die, you will manage to prove that. But again, maybe there are people who never sleep in the afternoon and their brain is so sharp than the one that I sleep in the afternoon. So it dies in which context? Like, does it die that I cannot process things accordingly? Does it die that I will not be able even to exist because my brain is dead? Or does it die? So in which kind of context? So that I see if your argument really relates to what I know. So I'm open to learning. And also, I don't only absorb whatever comes as content. I read a lot of books, and many times I'm like, nope, this one could be said differently, or this one maybe is seen from a different angle, because even there is no absolute truth. Why? Because when you're making any kind of assumption to a certain scientific theory, many different aspects can also come into play. For example, cultural aspect. There are people, based on their culture, they believe things in a certain way, and by default, when they're defining things, it's already embedded in their beliefs, so they want already to prove towards this side. Is it scientific? Is it cultural? Is it religious? Is it what? So which kind of paradigm am I considering to bring my absolute truth? And when I'm bringing what I believe, did I also consider that other areas see it otherwise? And if I see in all angles, I'm convinced, I will take it. If I see on your angle, I'm convinced, but if I consider in other angles that I do my own research, I'm not convinced, I will say like, thank you for your research. I will continue learning. I don't say that your research is wrong. I give the opportunity that maybe I didn't understand it accordingly. Then I will just learn new aspects, maybe from another angles. And after that, I will come to realize that, oh, you were right. So it's okay. And that's why there is this kind of willingness. You cannot come nowadays and tell people this is either, this is or. No. People have a willingness to decide, and that's why we want our societies to get educated. Yeah.
Now a bit moving back from this a bit general from your experience questions to more specific.
Yeah.
You were very consistent with telecommunications, bachelor, master's, PhD.
Yeah.
All are in the telecommunications.
Yeah.
But the question is, what has motivated you in the first place to start this kind of this field of engineering? How you thought about telecommunications?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Was it my choice? Probably not.
Your parents?
There are so many parameters here that come into play. Why I'm saying it so, it's like in Tanzania, when I was growing up, like we had this idealization, like, if you're in telecommunications, it's the best field and so forth, So we had that kind of mindset. When we are in high school,
was it because of some companies influenced, or how is it?
It's easier, it's relatable, When the technology is being introduced, for example, it's coming, you see some smartphones, you don't understand the magic inside. How does this thing happen, So it's in that era, when I was growing up, towards my high school, it's the implementation of, you have even probably not smartphones yet, but you use those kind of phones, like normal ones with buttons and stuff. It's still a certain magic you don't know, like what is this and stuff. So because it was coming, then you were already like curious, like, okay. And at the universities, it was the hardest course to get. They take very few students, top performers. They're the one that they were giving to that kind of course. So again, it creates this kind of scarcity, People like, to get there, it's so hard. So how will I get there and so forth?
You're talking about A levels when you start.
Yes, from A levels, you see. So after that, then I had this kind of already in my mind, like, telecommunications. Then I got the government scholarship. I just did my telecommunications bachelor's. And after that, I was like, okay, is it the same as how I see? And that's why when I was doing bachelor's, I did also Bachelor of Business Administration. So I was in university that I got scholarship to. I was studying telecommunications, and I was like, okay, maybe there is something that I don't know apart from this telecommunications. Then I started doing Bachelor of Business Administration. And when I went for Masters of Telecommunications, I also continued MBA also, like a Masters in Business Administration. Only PhD, I did PhD in telecommunications, ICT in telecommunications. But I'm considering doing PhD in business administration. Not now, but in the future for sure I'll do it. But why? It's from the beginning, when I was exposed to the emerging technologies, the only thing that you can relate is a phone. Most of the time when you are growing up, in that age, you want to talk to some peers, some friends, some whatever it is, and it's the phone that connects you. So it comes to subjective decision. And after that, then when I got the chance, I did my bachelor's in telecommunications. Then I'm like, oh, I like it. I continued the master's. I was like, oh, I like it. Then I'm already I mastered the field. Then I was like, okay, I got again the chance to continue my PhD. I was like, okay. So I went through that, not by my choice, but it just came natural, Maybe if I was exposed, my mother wanted me to be a doctor, but a medical doctor, you see. That's why, because I didn't go for medical field, I became a doctor, but in telecommunications. So I don't treat people, but I treated myself and my ideas and so forth. Yeah.
You had unique, interesting experience. You started from Tanzania, then studied in Algeria, and then in Estonia. How would you compare your experience in these various countries?
It's different. I remember 10 years ago, I was in China. I was with some friends from Switzerland.
It was your personal private trip?
Yes, 10 years ago. I was still a youngster by then. When we were walking, I saw one guy with his family. Like he was just walking, but he was without shirt, and he had also a slightly big belly, and also the kids were there, and it was like sunny and walking, but it was comfortable. And for me, I was like, I said one thing that was not good. I said, sorry for the word. I said, this is weird. I used the word weird. And my friend told me like, no, this is not weird. This is different, you know? And from that point on, I learned that things are different. And in that way, it's like every experience was different from my country to all other countries. I've already been more than 30 countries I've visited and stuff. Everywhere I go, I see differences. And what I focus on is how, for example, am I developing myself? How am I growing through all those kind of differences? And now I'm here, for example, in Estonia. I am I'm working. I studied here. I did my PhD here. And I have friends. I have colleagues. I like most of the things, you know. And even if there is something that I don't like, it's different. Why? Because if it suits here, it's for this place. Maybe something that is done here is different in my country. Something that is done in my country is different right here. Something that is done elsewhere is different. So here, things are done in a certain way, and that's different. That's what makes it particular and peculiar, like it's different. So my experience in different countries also summarizes in the same way. It's different, and even though it's different, it's amazing. I embrace the changes.
Is it always different in positive way? Because it might be different culture-wise.
Yeah.
So let's say here we eat with spoon and
Spoon.
fork.
Yeah.
Here we eat with hands.
Yeah.
There we eat with sticks.
Yeah.
And okay, this is how people got used. This is different.
Yes.
But then it might be different that in Estonia you enjoy like online documents and it goes faster.
Yeah.
It's like better different compared to maybe some other country where you have to bring lots of papers.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's different. Why I'm saying it's different is that, for example, in my country, in Estonia, we can even vote online. I can do everything from end to end online, digitalized, and the security enhancement is implemented. In my country, the security implementation cannot be done online as for now. It has to be like people even they have to verify that it's you and the document there. Is it your signature? They have to compare by eyes. It brings a lot of risks and inconveniences. Also, we have other things that maybe there they make the step long and here they make the step short. But again, it's through the same kind of differences. The societies still exist, you know. I would say one thing. For example, if you go to, I've been to Muslim countries.
Algeria.
Yes. Yeah, in Muslim countries, I've been in Qatar, I've been in Algeria, I've been in Egypt. They're all like Muslim countries to the larger extent. And what I noticed is that there are many things that are done there that are different than how they are done in my country, which has Christians and Muslims. And if you go to Christian country as well, you'll see that some things that are accepted that this is a norm. When you go somewhere else, it's not the norm. And when you come to the country that, for example, is non-religious, they see that, okay, this is the norm. And somewhere else, you see that this is not the norm. You see? So now we go back to the same context that based on what do you say that this is right or wrong? Because I can say that this is bad experience based on me, but not based on you. This is bad weather based on my clothes, but based on what I don't know how to embrace this weather. People normally complain, it's very cold. Of course, I come from Tanzania. Normally there, like we are on the 20, we have areas that are cold, but when I say cold, it means like 10, 15. And some, they go to lower temperatures, but no snow, no ice. And we have like in Dar es Salaam or Zanzibar, wherever, there it's like 28, 30, that's the range throughout the year mostly. What happens there is that if you are there, you say like, the weather is good here because you can swim and stuff. But again, for other people, it's suffocating. When you come here again, you say, it's so cold. But again, for some people, they're enjoying it. So the thing is that, of course, it's different, but you need to learn how to adapt. And that's how it is started from all the humankind. We adapt as we move forward. Different challenges have happened from the past, and people adapt and they go with them accordingly. And I think we should also embrace life in the same way, that things happen and they're different. Countries are different. The experience is different. How you interact with people is different. How close people can be to you is different. How far people can be with you is different. And it's particular to that place, and it's different. It suits them. That's why they exist. It doesn't suit you. Maybe that's why you exist in another society, because it suits you in a different paradigm. Yeah.
So when you think that things are different,
Yeah.
and it's really nice philosophy to accept things are different, and I'm coming to a new place,
Yeah.
and people got used to this kind of things, so I accept that this is different, and I kind of adapt.
Yeah.
If I understood correctly, what do you say?
You have to adapt. If you can adapt, if you cannot adapt, just try. There are things you can change. If you can change something, you do it. If you cannot change, what do? You cannot kill yourself.
But here is the thing. You as a leader, let's say you're coming to a new department, a new team,
Yeah.
and you see things are done differently.
Yeah.
So, okay, you learn those things,
Yeah.
how they are doing, you're watching. Then you realize this is far from optimal.
Yeah.
Will you say, no, I need to respect they are different?
Nope. If it's far from the optimal, you bring it. Okay, you know what? A setup of society.
How you will bring?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not very specific, but
Yeah.
like
Okay,
common
then,
steps.
so I'll talk it in two contexts. One, as the one that we are talking about, the society context, people moving from one place to another and stuff. And the second one will be towards the department, as you said, as I'm coming to the new department. In the department, I know there are already existing ways of working. I cannot just come today and say, okay, this is not optimal. If you don't know what you consider optimal could be suboptimal as well, because people have already been there for some time, and whatever they've done has already brought them up to where they are. Until you understand from what base, then you say that this is not optimal, then you show where are the discrepancies. If it's not optimal, how could it be optimal? A collective decision, a collective analysis, you highlight the positive advantages that will make your department optimal, then people can buy in. But I cannot come today and say, okay, this is not optimal, this is not optimal, this is not optimal, and this is my optimal. People, even the change is not managed like that, because even though you are so much expert in your field, in your department, in your company, it doesn't mean that you're so much expert here. You have to understand first what is the status quo. Then ask people there, why is it so? Maybe they've already tried what you want to try, then you only waste time now to bring to the optimal point, but your optimal maybe is not optimal, because nowadays the world is not linear. Like, oh, this is not optimal, here it's optimal, so I have to go like this. It's a complex world. The optimal point could be down here, the optimal point could be higher there, and so forth.
When we speak about the optimal, of course it can be really when it's also not so specific, we can talk a lot about this. Here is one more question about the change management, so to say.
Yeah.
So let's not stick so much on the optimal and suboptimal.
Yeah.
But you said, I will not say this is suboptimal, this is how you should do, but you said, I will show what is optimal. So by this, you imply you will show, and people get motivated and start changing.
Yeah, no, you cannot come and show you what is optimal for you. If I'm coming to your department, I cannot come and say, okay, this is optimal. I need to understand. That's why there is a time for you to learn and understand what's happening.
I understand. So you spend some time, you learned, you understand everything.
Yeah.
Now you want to introduce change.
Yeah.
How you will introduce this change?
Collective risk assessment. Understand what is good on the current status quo, what could be better, what to keep, what not to keep. Not only based on what I see, but also I will start with your people in the department. I'll be like, okay, guys, according to my analysis, it seems that this and this and this probably is not yielding to the best output. I think there could be another ways that could lead even better output. And if that's the case, I would like that we do collective analysis, collective risk assessment to analyze what is the current status quo. and highlight what are the bottlenecks to see even if what I'm seeing as bottleneck is seen as in the same page. Then I would say like, okay, then when we see there, okay, everyone highlights different things because they see different changes need to be done based on maybe someone will be, with the processes here, maybe the way we're working, maybe this and this and this. And of that way, okay, we have many changes here, things that we think they're bottleneck. Can we take them in one track? Or can we prioritize? Just start with what? And also by that time also you're doing also your self-analysis. Was that I saw also is seen in the same picture? And if not, how can you also inject it on the fly? That, okay, I've seen guys that have highlighted these ones. But again, what about this one? Do we have any comments about that? Is it working or is it not working? Why is it so? So that people express what they understand towards the situation. And of that, then you choose, okay, if you are the one who is selected to drive the change, you say like, okay, I've collected all the ideas. They're all equally important. However, I would like that we pick one that we can just go through. And maybe based on the current tools, based on the current competences, I would like that we start with this one. How do you think? Then people say, okay, maybe it will be hard here. You're already taking notes from people to understand that, okay, maybe something won't work, maybe something, or how even they think towards what you see from your angle. And after that, when people express what they understand, you can also bring your suggestions because you allowed them to give the suggestions. You also bring your suggestions. So it's not only your view, but also their view. And we make synergy between different views. We make synergy between different points of view. And after that, we have more, I would say, more suitable solution towards managing change. What we can sometimes find ourselves into is that I'm already convinced, confirmation bias. I'm already convinced that this doesn't work. I'm coming there, I think this doesn't work. But people are there, and people are very important because you cannot do it alone. You need them to do it. You need all of you to do it. And if you need all of you to be on the same boat, you should try to align expectations. And aligning expectations comes from clear communication. What do we see as a bottleneck? After we have already seen these are the bottlenecks, now how do we start solving one to the next? Because sometimes you can put all of them in the pile. If you have very big human resources, you will focus on this. You have different focus groups and we drive changes in parallel. Sometimes the resources are limited because you're not only going to implement this change, you have also the business has to still continue. So the team is limited. So we have only to focus on one. And we dedicate all our efforts with according time. Then we start solving one. After that, it links to the next one. Yeah,
I really like that you, from beginning, thinking to make people own, so to say, the change decision, not like imposing top down. I think this is really good. Of course, this is like in general, there can be lots of hidden stones.
a lot.
In this case, and for instance, people might not be in the first place coming and willing to speak up and share.
That's one.
They might actually force you to say the decision and then to blame you for making some decision.
Yeah, that's true. And also another thing is that it can also happen that people don't have a big picture as you have. So until people have the same picture as you have, the change can be faster. Because what you see as the problem, maybe because you are there, you see the problem, but people are not there. They are focusing on what they're doing. And in their way, it doesn't disturb them. So help your people to see the big picture that you want to bring and make them the part of the decision. Then the implementation will be easier and faster. But if you want to just go because you see it clearly, but if they don't see it clearly, it takes longer. Until everyone buys in, it takes longer. And we have to be very fast, optimal, efficient, resilient, and so forth. So for me, according to my previous small experience, I'm not so much experienced, but according to my previous experience, I would say that people are the core. And if people are the core, and they're involved in bringing the change, it gets faster. If you want to bring the change and people don't buy in, it takes longer. And we don't want to be in that kind of, we are only focusing on solving the problem to bring the change and we forget the business, because business continuity is the main, or is the key, I would say.
So you completed your PhD degree in 4 years.
Less than 4 years.
Less than 4 years. And for me, it's really impressive, because when it comes to engineering field, I know very well it's a big pain for many people to complete PhD in even usually designated like 5 years, but it's usually dragging, and it's for many of my friends who did PhD, it was really depressing times. But you completed in less than 4 years. So how did you manage to do it in 4 years?
One thing also I noticed when I was doing my PhD about myself on personal traits towards self-awareness, I would say is dedication and prioritization and knowing what you want to achieve, and also getting good supervisors that are supportive. You know, like PhD is not only about you, it's also about the supervisors you have. It's also about the colleagues you have at the department, because when you're a PhD, you have also your dedicated office at the university, you are teaching students, so it's a complete journey right there. Part of it could be depressive, especially when what you see is not what comes. You know, like I want this kind of result, but it doesn't come, you know. That's the hardest part.
Have you had this depressive moments?
Of course. Everyone has those moments. Many people quit. Even on the time that I was studying, like I know people who, like, not only in our department, but across the universities, that couldn't continue. So even up to the day that you're graduating, I am slightly emotional. I noticed that when I was graduating my master's, I had some tears. When I was graduating my PhD also, I had some tears. But they're not tears of like, oh, the journey was so hard. But I'm like, oh, actually, I made it. You know, that kind of feeling. Why? Because many times you can have different ideas, and not even your supervisors, maybe even the scientific community will reject it. And you have worked for it, for the idea for the whole year. And when you bring to the peer review, they're like, no, this is not valid. This one contains only one aspect. You forgot the other aspect.
But can you also say about yourself that you were lucky?
No, I don't say that I'm lucky. I was hardworking. I believe 50-50 when people say like there is lucky and there is hard work. But if I'm lucky, I would just sleep at home and I would defend.
Well, I'm not saying, but you admit there was luck, which also helped here.
Well, not luck. I don't say like
100% because of you.
Not because of me. Many parameters. So supervisors, I had good supervisors.
But luck would be 0% here.
No, but like I had luck to get good supervisors. Because even if, for example, I would say not my supervisors, assume that you're a supervisor. You are treating all of us together the same, but one person can quit and one can continue. So who is lucky and who is not lucky? We have the same supervisor, but one decides to continue, one decides not. So if you say, I'm lucky to have this supervisor, another one say, I'm unlucky to have this supervisor. So the supervisor is not luck. But now, how do you understand yourself? Understand that even my supervisors also are human beings. They also have different priorities. They have different things to do. And also, I'm not the only student. So they have many people also to supervise. Not only for PhD, they have masters, they have bachelors, they have their families and so forth. But people sometimes expect only the supervisor to understand them and not them to understand the supervisor, you see. So throughout the journey, I am thankful that regardless, sometimes you just reach many times, you disagree with your supervisors, you feel like, okay, maybe I'm left behind, or maybe they might even feel like, oh, this guy is wasting time or whatsoever, but still, the dedication was there. Engagement was there. I was seeing my work. When I see my work, the first thing, even if something comes and say, my supervisors already have their PhDs. I am the one looking for the PhD here. So if you want to take the journey to the supervisors, they've already gone through their journey. Now it's my journey, and I own it.
But one thing you mentioned, you were lucky with having good supervisors. But what about the research topic? You came with your research topic, or
I was selected for 2 different topics when we went for the competition, and I picked the one that was related to massive machine type communications in 5G. Mm-hmm. And I could relate very well to my topic because my background and experience was more aligned. So I was connected to my topic. So even if people don't know, but for me, when I study, I'm enjoying studying. Why? Because I'm like, oh, that's why. That's why, things that we, like all the things that we take for granted, when I was exploring on scientific research groups, on different scientific articles and so forth, I was like, okay, so this is how it is and stuff. Then it helped me to understand that I still don't know a lot of things, So if you know that you don't know, then it's easier for you to accept criticism. It's easier to accept disappointment. It's easier to accept that the reviewer rejected your paper, because the reviewer maybe is coming from different background and he wants to see it in the clarity that is expected. They have already more than 20, 30 years in academia. They have good research background. So they know what is already done. They know what's need to be done. They know how it is done. So you have to accept those. If you reject it today, you reject it tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm done. Then you cannot even become a graduate. Yeah. So that's why I would say that it was a good journey. Many parameters, colleagues at the university, my supervisors first, family supports you. Those moments that you feel down, your family comes and you know what, you can do it. Those are very tiny, tiny words, but people who are doing PhD, they need to hear that. I have many friends also who are doing PhD because of me. When I did, they were like, oh, if Collins, that they see me in a different area, that he could do it, I have to do it the same, you see. And I support them every time with ideas like, you know what, man, even me, I reached some area I didn't know, but now I know. Yeah.
So now you have a PhD, but have you considered to do postdoc?
Yeah, that's a good question. Should I answer that one or not?
It's up to you.
Yeah, I will answer that one. I think I'm more leaning towards industry and not academia. Even my motivation was very clear to my supervisors when I was starting. My main goal, why I needed to do PhD, is first of all to enhance my knowledge, and another thing to understand how research is done, to dive deep into concepts and understand my learning process, and also to be able to teach, for example, at university for master students. I can supervise master students. I can supervise even PhD students if needed, because I have another eye from industry, I have another eye from academia. I can combine the two and they bring an added value for sure. And but for me, I had both options. I could go for postdoc, I could go for industry, and I chose to pick industry for now. And I think I like it that way because I know what is needed when I'm a postdoc to do research. You do the same research as how we are doing in PhD, maybe in only different research group. You become more independent researcher rather than having a supervisor. You should be more independent on yourself, and that also comes with the trait, because there are people who can also be in a certain level, but they still want guidance. you see. But I'm still open to learning, not postdoc as experience itself, but to learning. If there is a new concept, something is coming, for example, different technologies will emerge soon, we need to learn those. I can learn through the same process, you see. So yeah, so I didn't want to go for postdoc. I wanted to go for industry as for now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, moving a bit away from your experience, but still the question based on your experience.
Yeah.
So, you know very well the Huawei is banned in many countries.
Yeah.
And due to security concerns.
Yeah.
As it's mentioned.
Yeah.
Do you find those concerns to be valid?
To be honest, I haven't digged deeper into what reasons, what concerns, and so forth. I think it's country specifics or politics. I'm not into that, and I don't know much about it.
Okay.
So long as it doesn't impact me, it doesn't influence on what I'm doing, I am really disconnected. I'm sorry for that. So, but I understand that if you say, for example, Huawei is banned in some countries due to some security concerns, maybe those concerns are seen from the country that banned it, because they see from which kind of vulnerabilities that they had considered. But for me, I don't know much. Like, okay, is it a valid or not valid concern based on that? That's a good example because I'm only in telecommunications. But there are many countries that are implementing country-specific restrictions. And it's not only for the telecommunication, they can be for the clothes. We have companies that don't import electronics from other countries. We have countries. We have countries that don't, for example, import used cars. When I was in Algeria, I remember they were not importing used cars, like the car that is already 5 years old. You cannot take it as a dumping area, like someone has already used it and you want to import. So those are country-specific restrictions. They are already considered internally how it's better for their country and not for the other person. Yeah. So
okay, that's clear. Let's talk about the African continent.
Yes.
So I'm not saying Tanzania, it's up to you.
Yes.
If you're running, let's say, imagine, if you're running one of the African countries.
Yeah.
What things you would change?
In Africa? Yeah. It depends on what I have to focus on. And what I am to change is the education system. When I say education system, it doesn't mean like, oh, how many classes do we have in primary school, how much in secondary, high school, or university, but rather to enhance independent thinking. Because there is one thing, that's my point of view, not based on, because I'm coming from Tanzania or from Africa. Mm-hmm. What you see in social media, what you see in news, what you see in whatever, is a given story from one angle. If I don't have good capacity to process and independently think, I can go into bias or stereotyping and so forth. So what I would enhance, if I have the power, is to help, and that's why also I did my PhD, that when I retire, or I just manage to go back after in my late age, I want to go to the university and teach. That was my clear motivation before starting my PhD. And that's why I did PhD. That I would go to the university and I would teach people how to think independently. Why I'm saying it so is just because if people consume the content without much analysis, that content can either act for good or for bad. If you help people to think, you don't need to take actions like, oh, this news is wrong, I'm going to strike it to say like they are saying the wrong thing, but already to know what to take as your frame of reference and what not. That's the one that I want to help. Why is it important? Is just because every content that we consume, especially now with the world of digitalization, every content that we consume, if you watch some movies from certain region, if they display how the operation is done, for example, in Africa, it's against this kind of activity. If it's done in Middle East, it's against this kind of activity. If it's done in for example, Europe, it's against this kind of activity. If it's done in Colombia, Mexico, Latin America, it's against this. So even the content that we're already consuming is already somewhat biased towards the audience. Whoever is the producer, whoever is preparing that one, is already having a picture of what they want to display. And that one, most of the cases, is not the general truth. And if people think independently, then they will be able to know what's right and what's wrong. And that will be the starting point on making the right decisions on how to improve themselves, on how to improve the society, on how to improve the image of their countries, the continents, and so forth. And also to understand that, okay, at the end of the day, maybe the systems were made not for you. I'm sorry, now I'm going back, because you asked about Tanzania or Africa. I know a bit of that. So when I'm explaining, I'm also focusing on my previous experience, is that if countries came from colonization, even when those colonies left, they had already implemented a certain system in those countries that was working for them. So even if they left, they say that you are free, but if the system is still working for them,
it's no longer free.
It's no longer free. And now if you teach people to think objectively, like, does it serve the general good? Is it so as it looks? Then people can start analyzing things. And when you start analyzing things and to bring changes, and maybe you can even have better societies in the future. It's very hard. I cannot even become a politician one day. I cannot become, I don't know, maybe one day, one time. But the thing is that you cannot change all these things at once. You will change small society, small people, group of people at the university. You will help them. They'll help their family. Those family, then they'll have ripple effect. So you change one person, that person goes change a couple of people that they're related to. Those, they'll change others. And in long run, it will help to enhance whatever is already happening. So I will change education system. I'm a very good advocate for continuous learning, for proper education, for proper mindset, open mindset, meaning like, okay, it's not only this way, it could also be otherwise, but also based on facts. And also, does it serve the general society? Does it serve for better and positive impact to people and to the humankind? That's what I advocate the most.
I like that you mentioned in the beginning that first focus is to how to learn to think independently, and I really like this because it's opposite to feeling, just memorizing some facts blindly. It doesn't necessarily make you smarter. Actually, you just become kind of walking encyclopedia, but maybe it's wrong or right knowledge. But the other thing is, if you can filter yourself, it's like, the analogy is with fish. Instead of giving fish, teach how to catch the fish. So I think this is quite similar. But connected to this one, you said that you don't see, let's say, yourself as a politician. You're like here.
Yeah, I'm not a politician. Yes,
but just free thinking. Do you think the world could have been a better place if it was managed more by scientists and engineers?
Scientists and engineers, or scientists and politicians?
Scientists and engineers.
If it was managed by scientists and engineers?
Yes. Let's say prime minister is scientist in chemistry or the engineer in the robotics.
Yeah. The thing is this. Engineering and science is one side. The society is not one side. The society is complex than that. In the society, you have religious people. They are strongly founded in their beliefs as if it's a scientific fact. And you have scientists. They strongly believe in their science as if there is no religion. You find other people who are liberals, like you find the politicians. You find people who are not scientists, but they are socialists. Like they're not. I don't know if it's the right word. People who are in social sciences. You have people who are in natural sciences, like the biologies and stuff. Mm-hmm. Everyone is equally important. I wouldn't say that scientists and engineers to lead, otherwise everyone would be dragged towards science. But life is not only science. There is a lot of other parameters that come into play. Science is implemented in a society, that in the society already there are different people who believe or don't believe and stuff. However, the world would be better place, but the world would be better place if it's led by better people. And when I say by better people, it means that people who think for humankind first and not for their own advantage. Like they want to bias everything so that it generates for them and not for others. That's why if you go to some countries, you will find people dying because of extraction. Someone is extracting some things and they use different chemicals that can even create different kind of death for diseases for people. They don't care because they care for themselves. So if we are led by better people, right people, the world will be a better place. And who is better, who is right? That's also something that also is debatable, because someone will say like, oh, this you consider right. For me, I consider this is right. But again, now it's a very complex aspect, I would say. But for a certain society, they have already certain beliefs. They have a certain level of science. They have a certain level of how they perceive life. And for them, if they have a better person in that caliber, it's good for them. You go to another society, they have also different things. But again, we still have to coexist. So it's coexisting, yeah.
It's just a thinking that compared to, well, if you're in certain profession, you have certain mindset of scientists and engineers. And it's just that impression that it's hard for scientists or engineer to be a liar compared
to other people, yeah. But also you can have also scientists who can lie. They will forge the results. They will forge their experiments. They will forge whatever they show you. And if you believe in scientists and they show you graphs, you think like this is objective graph, maybe it's not. That's why independent thinking will be the key. Like, okay, even though these are the results, show me what's your methods. That's why in science, we don't only focus on the results that you display. We don't focus on your hypothesis that you give. We have to follow the IMRAD, like even the method, the results, and how do you discuss your results so that I buy in things. So
that's a very important point. I think that we should not just blindly trust. We should be equipped with knowledge to check ourselves.
Yes. Because there are many people who also even go against scientific results that come because they did some experiments in defenseless creatures. They wanted to prove that this one works. They go kill other people, or they go try experiment it in other people from different areas, or try to different kind of animals. And after that, when you come and say, oh, this is the best results, someone else has already found the best results based on what? If it took you this much to bring this, is it the best result? So what is the moral concept when judging this is better and not? That's very important as well. Yeah.
Right. Now I want to ask you the questions from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So basically these questions were generated by ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And how they were generated is how I introduced in the beginning. I made the prompt. I said, look, you are my assistant helping me to hire a person. So I'll be hiring the person, and the person with this background for this position. What kind of questions I should ask?
Yeah.
And here is the question. If your computer could talk, what would it say about you?
If my computer talks about me.
You are working a lot with your laptop.
Yeah.
Let's say your laptop can talk.
Yeah.
What do you think it will tell?
That on my computer, unfortunately, I had my own laptop, but I gave it away. So I'm only having the work laptop. I use it during working hours. So if my computer, my work laptop talks, still find me only working. Like this guy is a they call workaholic or what? So,
Workaholic.
yeah, workaholics. Yeah, like this guy is like constantly working or something. Or it can also say like this guy likes reading scientific articles, and also sometimes like maybe designing some stuff myself, because I design also like my websites, for example. I do them myself, and if I want to create new concepts, I write them on my laptop. Like sometimes I have ideas popping up, like, okay, what if I do it this way and this way and this way, and I have this kind of business model? What if it's like this? And I just create. So I have a lot of templates, different ideas. I put them there, so my computer can talk about me about that. I'm not a movie person on my laptop, so for sure my laptop will never say like this guy plays a YouTube or whatever. No, I'm not like that. Yeah, but let me see what ChatGPT did if they went if they found common traits for Collins. What does it say?
Well, basically, it was the question. There was no like the
Okay, it was like
right or wrong answer.
Okay.
But here's another question from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And can you share an example of time when you had to make a tough decision as a leader?
Yeah, many times actually. You have to. I'll give an example. No, you want only the time that I had to make, or example of the hard time decision?
Example of this tough decision that you made. Yeah.
Yeah. So tough decision also can be seen in different angles. For example, if you are now talking here about hiring.
But let's say, I mean, I can view, for me, a tough decision will be one thing. For that person,
yes,
for you, it's the third thing. But for you personally,
yeah,
what was the, let's say, toughest decision in your personal kind of ranking, I would say?
I remember sometimes back, that was bad. I think it was bad or something. I was just dealing with some people, and in a certain company somewhere there, yeah. And because I also know how to code, so I know how people develop their code.
Code in what?
In C#, in MATLAB and stuff. So when someone is doing something, even if I don't know what you're doing, if I just go there, I just check your code, I'll know that this guy is trying to do this, trying to do this. So I remember I was in a certain place, and the person that was supposed to work on a certain code was always, hey, it's going on well, it's already there and stuff. Then one day I was like, okay, and I need to sit with you. And he was just, I felt bad because the way he was shaking, it's like maybe something was hidden or something, because I was like, okay, yeah, no, yeah, it's long, so it was a kind of micromanaging, like you sit with someone and show me what you were doing for all these months that you said you're developing, and we're not there. Then the person was like, yeah, it's like this, yeah, like, and I'm like, oh, no, yeah, it's not here, no. Later I came to reflect on it. I was like, no, maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. Maybe I should have done it differently. Yeah. So for me, it was tough also, because I don't sit with people and check what they do. Like my team knows me for that as well. Like everyone is everyone is independent. Everyone is already expert. Everyone already knows their business. You do your thing, they do their thing. Everyone is in different kind of responsibility. So for me, I would say that was it was not even tough, but it was like I didn't like it, like myself, like to sit and say like, okay, show me how the code is going, and I felt like, am I micromanaging? Yeah, so that was a bad experience on myself.
But decision you made as a leader, what was it?
There were some other decisions that I made back then, but I think that they're not.
Was it like firing? Or?
No. It's not that, but you know, I wasn't even I wasn't the manager for the person, but I was, I think, like responsible for that specific code or something. Yeah, but I think through what I did, it led him to feel bad. Yeah, so that's why, like, for me, it was not good what I did. Like, yeah, but the decision, I didn't say like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and stuff, something like that. And also on my previous experience, to say like, oh, I made a bad decision as a leader. You mean a leader of myself, because I'm also a leader on myself as well, or leader to lead people. Yeah, I make a decision. It's not a tough decision. It's the right. Is it a right decision? Maybe right decision then when making it. But when you come after some time, you revise. Maybe you could have done it differently. You see. So what I understand right now, what I do in my daily practices, it's not like, oh, this is a very tough decision, but rather there is a certain decision that needs to be made to reduce risks. It has to be collective decision, and when a collective, it depends if it needs to be made with other people, like maybe all our team, or it has to be made from people above, or it has to be made from people like in a different departments or whatsoever, so that at least we have done a kind of collective analysis. And after that, if it's made, it's a decision. Is it tough? That's very relative. Tough based on what? Because if you say like, you give an example like, I fired someone. Firing someone is tough. Someone can say it's tough decision, but someone else will say it's not tough decision. Because some people can fire, they can hire, they can do this, and for them it's not tough. It's easier. So it's how you perceive it. Like, is it tough for you? Is it whatever? For me, it's like I constantly like to involve different people to get different opinions, how I see things. Like, okay, I'm seeing it this way. How do you see it? Sometimes you need only to slow a bit and maybe you see it differently. Sometimes you need maybe to go fast and you need to take that decision. So the decision will be taken. And is it tough or whatever? No, that's a decision. And later, you see, does it lead to positive impact or negative impact? But again, by that time that you are making, it was a decision, the needed decision. Yeah.
All right. So the final question in the job interview is, what is your salary expectation?
Actually, for me, I know that for your company, for example, I've done also research on the position that I'm applying for as a scientist. I've also compared to similar benchmarking companies that are doing the same field, because same position can also be different treated in different industries. I compared in our industry, and I've seen that my range is from X to Y, €1,000. But that's how I see it. I believe also you, as you're already from the company, you already know what is the expected responsibility that comes to this. And if it's the company that is equitable, by default, you treat people fairly. So I expect to win that trust, that I'll be treated equally and fairly, and to get my corresponding salary according to the job description. And also, of course, on the fly, we can also still evaluate if responsibilities are higher than the salaries, or the responsibilities are less than the salary. Then I will say, like, please reduce my salary because I'm doing less here. Or I will say, please increase because I'm doing more. If there is a certain range, we can discuss. Main point is that I'm open to negotiations. I believe that you have already done the research. You already have the numbers. You know how much you're willing based on a budget. So I'm open to propositions. However, based on my research, the range is from X to Y, €1,000 or millions of euros per year or per month.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So we are done with the job interview.
Thank you.
And how do you feel? How was it similar to your previous experience?
Yeah.
Did you also hire with this kind of questions?
Yeah. So the thing is that, of course, there's similar kind of things, because when you want to understand things, you can bring situational kind of questions. Those I see kind of similarities, because when you do situational, it helps to understand how people think. And when I say how people think, is how they can deduct ideas It's like, for example, you show a picture of something that I didn't know before, but how I can connect the dots, how I can deduct the ideas. That's also very important when hiring, to see how people think. And situational questions help much in also understanding how diverse people could be, or how maybe specific people could be, because you have people, maybe they have only one direction of point of view, and you have people that have a broader or different direction point of views. So situational, I like it. And also bringing a lot of innovations, bringing a lot of newer concepts that we are planning to do, because everyone who comes, for example, to whichever kind of company, if I come to your company today, I have a picture that I see from outside, but when I come inside, it's different. And most of the companies, even if, for example, you are coming from company X that operates in the same way as company Y, they release the same products to the customer, but if you're not inside X or inside Y, you'll never tell what they do. So bringing these kind of examples with innovations, innovative ideas, also is something that I think people face when they come, because when you ask people like, okay, what do you think we are doing here? Then you understand like, okay, this guy thinks you are producing lamps. Another one will think you are producing chairs, because maybe they interacted with the certain product previously, and they think, okay, that's what you're doing. But still, even though they don't have deeper knowledge, what I like the most is that the aspect of technology has a certain common chain. When I say have a certain common chain, is that you can see if people are willing to learn, because if you are doing research, is that you don't know all. And that's why we call research. If you know, then it's no longer research, because you already know.
So in other words, you would put in a situation where you will evaluate ability to improvise and to adapt to a new kind of situation.
And also the open mindset, the willingness to learn, willingness to explore other possibilities. Because if I only focus on what I know, and I don't know that there is something else that is I don't know, then I'm not willing to learn, because I'm only focusing on what I have right now. So what I see is that when we are doing the interviews as well, it's also very important that people come, they have their certain picture, but again, how can they move on the scale of development, engineering, science, in the same kind of steps, from deducting complex ideas towards very specific idea. Because at the beginning, everything is like everywhere. But now you narrow it down to become very specific, then you can start targeting it and solving it as a problem. Yeah. And that's why even when you are having this kind of example of enhancing the ways of working, for example, we also use that example that you'll come, but you won't say, oh, I'm going only to solve that one, because you don't understand what else is happening. And after that, you have already understood everything or most of the things, then you can narrow down towards specific, then you can start solving it. So I think that's also a kind of a good practice that I also experienced here. And also I think it's also important that if you're bringing people to a certain role, maybe for us, because we're talking about engineering, science and stuff, we're deducting it like this. Maybe if it was in a different area, a different field, maybe it would be different. Maybe I expect like you just give me like, okay, I need this kind of output. Develop, which language do you use? C#. All right. I need a certain thing that does this. So what I want to see at the end is that this thing is displayed. So then you see this person, okay, how do they start initializing the variables? How do they do the computation? They compute every aspect. And how do they visualize the results?
But here it was focused not on the specialist, but on the leader of...
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying like it's in different roles or different fields, it could be done differently. For leaders, it's very important, as you did, to understand how they think, how they deal with people, how do they relate with people, how do they communicate with people, because that one also helps you to understand that if a leader is willing to learn about themselves, then they can learn about others. Because even if you're a leader, it means you have people. And if you have people, you have to influence them. And you cannot influence if you don't understand them. And that's the same example that we gave. Like, you cannot come and say, I want to change this. If you don't understand what we are having as a problem, you cannot come and change. So that's why also it's very important that if you are checking up like people, especially leaders, then you know that they are not only on themselves. They also have to influence others and influence others towards a positive common goal. Otherwise, you just have a leader who has their own opinion. They think my opinion matters. Oh, I'm top expert here. I know everything. Then I can impose my ways of working. But if you have someone who is willing to also understand fast, because the world also is moving fast. Not like I'm spending 2 years, I'm understanding people. You're just only focusing on people to learn and stuff. No. You have also to balance everything. How can you enhance so that we go faster? If you want to go only on the narrow, people start resisting change. Then after that, you take longer to execute. But if you start by understanding, then people already go, they buy in the idea. Then you take shorter time. So you find like the stress level is down to your team, then things can even be faster. But if you go and you want to only to bring this, you want to change this, you want to change that, and people, if they don't buy in, then people are stressed. And when people are stressed, their productivity go down. And if you want to have good productivity or good results, it's better to be a leader who understands people. And when you understand people, you know that people are different. You know that people have different processing power, like how the computers are, the phones are. People are different. People have a different speed in buying in your ideas. So everyone who sits where, and if you know who sits where, who can buy the idea first, you pick them so that they can already executing, and others will see from many people, and after that you can move. You see, so understanding leader is the one that we need. And if you need the understanding leader, it means that if you are interviewing for an understanding leader, because he's going to lead people, he should also be the one who is aware to understand himself first.
All right. So there are different kinds of people watching us. Some are more experienced, some are just starting. But let's say to the person who is just starting, aspiring scientist, what advice would you give?
I would say that actually, as you said earlier, that we have not solved all the challenges in the world. We still have many things that are still unknown. If you have a passion to become a scientist, if you have a passion to engineers are different than scientists, because one is more towards exploring these new concepts, one is more about executing whatever is already existing there. So there's a kind of thin line, like, okay, this already exists here, I'm going to do it this way. This other one is even being able to think about something that had never existed, you know. So for me, I would say that if you want to become a scientist, the very first thing would be like, start thinking. And when I say start thinking, it's like, it's okay, for example, to go to the nature. I love it here in Estonia, for example. We have very good and beautiful like ranna, like the beaches, or beautiful swamps like Viruraba. I go a lot to Viruraba, and Yagalayoa, Keilayoa, I go a lot to those places. I go there, I walk, I go there, I sit. I don't hold my phone. I don't hold anything. I only try to think, what could I do different? You see? And if you're a scientist, I think, or you're aspiring scientist, just check whatever you experience, you see, and see what could be different. You are seeing the lamp right now. It's coded with that one. You can think like, okay, can we have the floating ones? And if I have to bring the floating one, how to cancel the gravitation? Because they're already like balloons, they're floating. How can I? So start from there. And like, oh, this lamp is having the wire. Now I want to create the novel one that floats like a balloon. And if I want to go to the living room, I only push it and it floats, it goes. It's possible. Why? Because there are those environments that are already created to cancel out the different forces. And start from there as a new aspiring scientist in whichever field. I'm talking here about the lamp because we are already here in front of the lamp. But for example, if you are in medical field, you are in social sciences, you are in business, you are in whatever, think what else could be done to make even what we are having right now better, not only for you, but also for the complete society and for the better humankind. Yeah.
Thank you. That was Dr. Collins Burton Mwakwata in the episode of Leaders and Engineers. Thank you for watching and listening us.
Thank you very much.